Hi, welcome to Big and Loud, No BS. We are with Gina Arena, running for Senate out of the 40th District for New York. How are you doing tonight, Gina? Thank
I'm
you so
doing,
much for your patience.
oh, sure, it's no problem. How are you?
I'm well. So let's talk about our first subject, which is out of the Post. Bodega owners urge state to do something about our defend ourselves laws. What's your feelings on that?
The About the bodega owner?
Correct. Like
Oh,
he's
okay.
getting charged for murder, and
Right.
we don't have a stand your ground law in the state of New York. This poor guy is getting charged with murder. He's a working man. He owns the business, and he's being charged with murder.
Yeah, I watched the video today. I don't know if you saw the video. It
I
was
did.
uh it was pretty heart-wrenching to say the least. Uh, you know, this guy wanted to defend himself and so he took out his knife and defended himself and ended up unfortunately killing this person. And in New York, with all the laws that we have, I just don't understand why this guy's getting charged with murder for defending himself, but we're letting criminals back out on the street all the time. This really makes it doesn't make any sense.
It
I
hurts you
feel
at
that
the stomach, I think. For me, it does.
what
It hurts
what
me at the core of my stomach.
yeah.
It disgusts
Be,
me.
well, because we're so out of control in this state and people know it, they feel it. We were in crisis all the time with the money that we're spending on gas and food, and people are desperate, and we've got criminals on the street, and the victims don't have any rights. And now this guy is, I think he's out of jail today, though, right? Didn't they take him out?
I think so. I
50,
didn't see the report yet, but
but still, he should have never been in
he
jail
should
to
have
begin
never
with.
saw a day in he never should have been fingerprinted at the
Right,
I mean, he's protecting himself. But this goes into our next thing about crime. Crime in
right,
the city, crime in New York, period, is out of
right.
control. I mean, Chicago, you can't even walk down the street without not wondering if you're going to get hit by a straight bullet, but when you're going to get hit by a straight bullet. And
But
that's the
we're
same thing in New York,
seeing the same thing in New York City.
right?
We've got eh, Listen, I used to love to go down to the city, go see a show. People all around here take the train in, go to dinner. We can't do that anymore. We're only 50 miles out of the city. And
Yeah.
we can't do it anymore because you're scared of what's going to happen to you, whether it be a person pushing you off the subway or getting struck by a stray bullet, you know? Eh, we're just in a desperate situation at this point in New York. And that's one of the reasons I chose to run, because my kids can't afford to stay here anymore. The crime is going up. We have legislation that's just, like I said, in favor of the criminal and not the victims.
Right.
And it's very worrisome to live here, and I can feel it for the people.
It is. And, the ex-commissioner of New York City Police Department came out, I believe, today or yesterday, and explained that cops coming into the academy and cops on the street are at an all-time low. And that's not going to be for this year. That's going to be for next year, the year after that, the year after that. Because right now, nobody wants to be a police officer.
Can you blame them?
Why would you? Right. Why would you?
I mean, and not only that, the legislators in Albany and everybody around in this one party situation, all they keep talking about is defunding our police. They don't give them an incentive. to want to become a police officer. I can't blame them.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I wouldn't want to.
Why would you want to risk your life and your family's life for one
Right.
person that is out to hurt somebody, but yet, they go free, and the police officers right now, I feel, are cuffed.
Oh, Billy, they're definitely cuffed because you and I both know that as soon as they bring them into jail, they they're not, in fact, they're not even arresting them anymore because it's just a waste of time. Because as soon as they're put in, they're back out on the street within an hour and they're looking at the same guy,
Yeah.
you know? And then who knows who's carrying what weapon,
Right.
At some point you just kind of try to keep everything peaceful. It's just,
Right.
I believe that we should be doing more for our police, and we're in a very sad state when it comes to supporting them.
Right. And I'm a guy that has sat in the back of that police car. And I've always, even on that side of it, though, I've always respected them.
Right.
Like I've been on both sides of the law. I support the police. Tim's cousin, very good friend of mine, Tim, his cousin is a state trooper. I support him. I have his thing on my windshield, but I know that when I call my police officers, my firefighters, my first responders will be there. It happened to
Right.
me, earlier this month. I had a panic attack, hyperventilated. Didn't know hyperventilation, but it was very scary. And when I woke up, my wife was there, and North Salem Fire Department and Westchester paramedics were there to help me. And and North Salem Police was there to help me. And that's
Right.
what we need to start pushing, is that these guys have families, they have wives, they have children, they have a life as well.
Right. And let's face it, crime is moving north. We see it all the time. We
On a daily
see,
basis.
you know, people will send out that alert to the neighborhood that their cars have been broken into. Everybody make sure you lock up your cars. We were hit last night. This neighborhood's probably going to be
Yeah.
next. It's like a pattern, year after
Right.
year after year.
Right.
And they just slowly go to each neighborhood stealing cars. And when is it going to get worse? That could
Right.
happen at any minute.
Right. But
Like
what happens
if they
when
can,
somebody wakes up and finds that person? And then what's going to happen with that transaction? That's a whole different ballgame to
right,
talk about.
right.
But people don't think it will happen here in the suburbs. People don't think it'll happen to them, but it will.
Well, and when
It
it
can.
does happen, but when it does happen here in the suburbs, nobody talks about it. You
Right.
don't see it. You don't hear about it unless you're a neighbor and you know that it's happened, and then it fizzles out, and then we go to the next thing.
Right.
Um, it, it's a sad situation for
It
the
is.
police, for the victims, and frankly, I just we gotta figure out a way to get rid of this bail reform, and that's one of the reasons I decided to run.
And
Was
now, I know we spoke a little earlier on the interview take one about the discovery law, right?
Yes,
So this is very important because I showed it what you were talking about to my wife, and it's very disturbing to her
it should be.
about this law. So can you go and let the viewers know what the
So
discovery law
most people
is?
don't. Yeah, most people don't realize that with the new bail reform, and there's also this discovery law. I believe it's part of the bail reform. And like I said to you, I don't have the law in front of me, and I urge people to actually go and look up the bail reform bill and look up the discovery law just to understand what's in there.
Right.
because the victim, the criminal is now allowed to have the name of their victim and their address where they live.
And what is that? What does that contribute to? What, in your opinion, I guess? Because I know what it does, in my opinion.
What do you mean?
It
Explain.
allows the victim to be victimized again. In my
Exactly.
book, that's
Yes,
my concept of that law, is that it
exactly.
allows the victim to be
Exactly.
victimized over
And
and over and over again until he stops.
right,
But how is he
right.
stopped? We have this.
And this is the kind of thing that you see on Law and Order, right?
Right.
Where the
SVU.
guy keeps going back, keeps
Yeah.
going back, keeps going back, and the same girl keeps getting raped,
Right.
and that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. Especially
Because
if that person is raped and then doesn't want to go back to the police again because of this law. It means
right,
that if he gets arrested again, he'll be back the next night or maybe even that night.
right. Well, right, because like like we discussed before, you also have the situation where bail reform, they're out even before you can have, you know,
Restraining order.
a restraining order put
Yeah.
on against the person. So you're sitting at home thinking he's in jail or she's in jail or whatever, and next thing you know, they're at your door.
Right.
So it, for people who are victims, this is a very scary time. And we really need to do something about it. And not only that, we can't defend ourselves
Right.
because we're going to go to jail if we defend ourselves.
Right.
So it's a very vicious cycle that we're in when it comes to law and order and public safety.
Right.
Um,
And that's what
no
our
matter what,
Constitution says: liberty, justice, and freedom for all.
right?
But I feel like there is no liberty right now. There is no freedom, and there definitely is no justice, especially when you have protesters standing outside of the SCOTUS's house to
Right,
influence them or threaten them or run them out of a steakhouse. Like, these are things that shouldn't happen.
right, right. Violence should not be the answer. Listen, I will say this 1,000 times over. My daughter was in the military. She
Thank you
was
for that.
military police. Thank you.
Good for her.
And she did a tour in Afghanistan. She became a soldier because at the age of 11, the Twin Towers came down, and she made a commitment to herself then that she was going to do something to defend her country.
Amen.
We had the greatest amount of patriotism in this country during that time. And to not see it right now, it overwhelms me and it breaks my heart.
I don't know
But
if
I
you
will
saw the last poll, but I think it was like 39% of Americans are proud to be an American. I mean,
right.
for me, I was there at 9/11 at Columbia University, 168 and Broadway. Um,
Mhm.
and I went down and I volunteered down there. Went
Good
later
for
on a
you.
couple weeks for the church and volunteered as well. And I can tell you the patriotism after that was phenomenal. But where did we lose that?
Well, the point I was going to make first was
Sorry.
no. That's okay because we can get back to that. With my daughter, her commitment to the country, I would say something about a protest or something, and she would say, "Mom, that's why I defend the country, because everybody has the right. Every person, whether I agree or I disagree, that's why I defend the country." She said, "I defend the flag and I defend the country."
Amen.
And I said, "You know what, honey? I hear you loud and clear. But we're at a different level. We're at a violent level. It's not just protests now. It's, and this goes for everything.
Yep.
People are so volatile because they're so divided. And where does that stop? Where's that line? When do
Right.
when do we start talking again?
Well, that's why I started this podcast, was to kind of try to bring people back to the table.
Right.
Going into that, your daughter fought for the rights for people to protest,
Right.
for people to speak their mind, to have free religion, to have the rights that are in our Constitution.
That's right.
245 years that Constitution has been our Constitution.
Right.
So when you talk about divide, I think we need to find a commonality to agree on some things, and then maybe talk about the things we don't disagree with. But at this point, I think you're right. We're not even talking at this point. I can't
Exactly.
tell one of my Democratic friends, hey, Trump did this great today, and they would automatically cut me off and not talk to me, and that's it. And it's not just, I said the T word earlier, but it's very like, I think it's a problem with the media. It's a problem with our school districts. We are sending the message to hate America. I have a friend from Kenya that I posted a flag picture on 4th of July, and he said that was the best flag in the world. He's in Kenya, Africa, trying to come here, and he loves America because of what we stand on and for. Everybody's free. Everybody's allowed an opinion. But today, it seems like if you disagree with me, then you cancel me. I'm done. Everything I've done good in my life is gone. And you just hang on the fact of who I voted for or who I didn't vote for.
Right. And we forget that we're all humans. We forget that we're all living the same struggle. We're all trying to combat the inflation. We're all trying to be able to just drive to the grocery store without spending $20 for gas.
Right.
We're all in the same boat.
Not even for groceries, just for gas.
Yeah, exactly. We should be taking care of each other. We shouldn't be, pointing the finger and trying to make people feel bad about their beliefs. We all have different belief systems. That's what makes us so great.
Right.
Is that we can learn from one another, we can teach one another, we can listen, and we're somehow not doing that anymore. We're just acting like this is normal.
Right.
We're supposed to be the example. I try to live by example. I believe in being transparent. I don't believe in telling lies. I believe in taking care of my family and my friends, regardless of party. You and I have spoken about this before. I have 8 children.
Yes.
I've been through a lot.
I'm still amazed that you have 8 children. I didn't know that until today. I'm still amazed about that. I don't even know how you're awake still.
Well, a lot of them are grown now because I'm now working on my 3rd grandchild. So
there you go.
So
I beat you. I got 4.
Yeah, you got me beat on that.
Yeah, I beat on that.
So
that's what it comes to too, is the lies that you mentioned. I feel like people aren't getting the proper information today.
They're not.
And
they're not.
For me, I hate to use the word, and I'm sorry if it offends anybody, but it's voter suppression to me. If you're not allowing the improper information out to give the voters the right to make their own decision.
Right. You need all the facts.
Right.
You can't just make a decision based on half the facts or a quarter of the facts. You need all the information. That's one of the things that I see myself being, is making sure people get all the information that they need to make informed decisions. Listen, when my daughter was diagnosed with autism, I needed all the facts to be able to give her exactly what she needed to succeed.
You-
And it was the same thing with my daughter who had opioid addiction. We had to go into our savings and send her out of New York State because there was no long-term programs here to help her.
Right.
And let's face it, you and I have talked about this as well. Let's face it, knowing what I know about addiction and opioid addiction, 30 days doesn't cut it.
No.
It's not.
No.
You're setting someone up for failure, and
Yep.
you're setting them up for the possibility of suicide or relapse, one
Yep.
or the other.
And going into that, talking about your daughter with the opiate addiction, I also suffered an opiate addiction. Thankfully, it was before the fentanyl situation happened.
Yeah.
So
Thankfully.
fentanyl now is, it could take the date on a penny that much to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes. Kids are dying. I looked at the report. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was astronomically numbers of 18 to 30-year-olds dying from fentanyl.
Yeah.
Not from heroin, not from anything else, but from fentanyl. It's pouring into our country right now.
Mm-hmm.
Pouring. It's almost like when they said the vaccine was a population control, right? Of course, it's conspiracy theories. I don't believe that. I am vaccinated and boosted. But, it almost seems like it's just pouring in and there's no stop to it. Where in California, 2 people were arrested and then let out with fentanyl, right. Enough fentanyl to kill 200,000 Americans. That's a lot.
That's a scary thing.
It is.
It's a different kind of an epidemic.
Right.
And we're not treating it like that. We're these are our babies. These are the people that we bring, that the day they're born is the best day of our life. I said to my husband when we were trying to get my daughter help, I'm saving her life. This is life and death.
Yeah.
And no family should be living and working alone on a situation that is plaguing our country and feeling alone while doing it. And that's what we felt like. Yeah. I mean, we had deadbolts on our bedroom door to keep her from coming in to steal, our jewelry and whatever she could get her hands on so that she could go get her fix.
All right.
And thank God, by the grace of God, she's okay and she's clean after 3 times in rehab, and she's having her first child, and
Amen.
she's doing great. But you want to know something? I had to send her to California to a long-term program in order for that to happen.
Right.
That shouldn't be. That should not be. We should be in New York. We pay enough taxes. We do enough things that we should be able to help these kids who are getting addicted to this.
So my sister-in-law dealt with a situation where she needed to be dually diagnosed. Yep. And there was no facility in the vicinity of New York besides the Hamptons, which her mom, my mother-in-law, beautiful woman, is retired. She's trying to help her daughter, and there's literally no help. She went to hospitals and said, oh, she's not withdrawing enough, and sent her home. I think, the first thing that we need to do for addiction is open these facilities, make facilities available, make it available, but make it okay. If you have a heroin addiction, it's okay.
Right.
We'll get you
But
help.
you know what happens when you provide a program that's actually going to work in the long run, you're saving money because you're not sending the same person in every 2 months.
Right.
If you do the right rehabilitation and you get the right help for the person and they're able to succeed and get a job and move on with their life and have a family and deal with their dual diagnosis, because that's a lot of people don't realize that a lot of heroin addicts and a lot of drug abusers and alcohol abusers had some kind of a trauma somewhere in their life.
Right.
That's the root cause. So you have to get to the root cause to fix the problem. And I learned while my daughter was in the rehab that when you're addicted, it takes 6 weeks before you're even willing
Yeah.
to admit that you have a problem.
Yep. But it only takes 3 days with heroin to make you addicted. That's
Exactly.
crazy. Only 3 days.
Exactly. So imagine you have a kid and they tell you after 30 days, sorry, we detoxed her, send her home. That's where the overdose happens.
Right.
Because they go and they take enough to send them into overdose because that's what they were used to taking before.
Right. And they're not used to taking that amount at this time.
Exactly. This is definitely an issue and a topic that is near and dear to my heart and is something that needs to be dealt with in New York. And I'm ready to take that on.
And I appreciate that. And that's one of like my hardcore feelings is that we need more help for people that are dealing with this.
Yes.
Um
Most definitely.
yeah.
But Billy, we live in a place where it's very affluent, and but we still have a lot of blue collar, hardworking people in this area too. That people forget that there's a big mix of personalities here and people, and we have to stick together. We have to work together to make things okay. Like we said before, the
We have
taxes
to
are out of
start treating
control.
humans like humans again.
Yeah,
Bring the humanity back. Bring the kindness back.
right.
Doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter if you're in the gutter. Lend a hand. I wouldn't have been out of the gutter. I grew up in a trailer park in Middletown, worst place in Middletown. And I came out of that gutter, not by myself though. I had a helping hand along the way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what we're missing a lot today, in communities, whether it's the city, whether it's in suburbs, wherever you're at, you're missing that community.
Right.
And it's because of the division of things. So let's not look at the part that we don't agree with the person. Let's look at the person. So American
That's
history.
right.
We're trying to erase what happened. America
Right.
has had its faults. Not denying that. But if you erase your history, you will repeat your history.
Most definitely.
And I
Most
think
definitely.
we're leaning into repeating our history. The
But
80s, we're
the
repeating.
history we have to repeat is being united.
Right.
That's the history that we need to bring back.
But
Is
because
that
of your past, you can still unite. Like we have
right?
to move from erasing the past and being united again as Americans. 39%,
Yes.
I think the poll was, came out and said I think it was like the third or the fifth that it came out. I can't remember. It wasn't the fourth. I wasn't watching it on the fourth. But it shows that we've lost pride in the state, in the country that we live in.
Right.
And how do
Right.
you do that? This is the freest, most best land in the world. We
Right.
are the leader. We are the free world. We have 2.5 million people trying to come in just because we're the freest country.
And we need to stand up and own it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So Gina Arena, thank you so much for being on tonight. I know there's a place that people can go donate. What is
Yes.
it?
Yes. www.gina, Gina, arena, arena, 4, FOR, Senate.com.
That's awesome.
Billy,
And I have to say
thank
real
you.
quick.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you for having me on, because this is your first podcast.
Yes.
I feel so honored to be your guest. I want to leave you with a little something that you and I both understand.
Okay.
I lost a child to brain cancer. Yep. You know this.
Yep.
And he was the light of my life. My other children are as well, but he's a little different. He's in heaven now. And I hear him every day reminding me to be a good person, that life is very short. He was 6 years old when he passed away. People need to know you're not going to live forever. While you're here, you have to make the best of it, and you have to take care of one another. And that was one thing that happened in this community, regardless of party,
yeah,
regardless of Democrat, regardless of Republican, Independent, whatever your party affiliation was. People came from near and far to help our family, to see my son, to meet my son. It didn't matter. They were unified behind us.
Yep.
They took care of us. They made sure we were good, made sure we had food, made sure we had money to travel when we had to take him to California for treatment. My point is, no matter how bad it gets, we still have to take care of each other. And we're living in a time right now where it's hard. It's hard financially. I've been there. I understand it. And it's time for us to get back to taking care of one another, having a simple life, and making sure we have laws that work and we can protect one another. We can protect ourselves. Those things have disappeared, and it's time to take them back.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And Gina, I know you lost your son, and we kind of touched base when we first met. I just want to tell the viewers real quick that Gina and I recorded earlier. Some of it got cut off for some reason. So at 10:20 at night, she's still on the phone with me. Gina Arena is the realest person that I've met that's trying to make a difference. I felt this all along. I had a connection with you. I'm so glad you were my first podcast interview. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And I believe it was Gina for NewYork.com.
Nope. Gina Arena for Senate.com.
All right. There you go. There it is. Thank you so much, Gina. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Are you going to be there on the 19th?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We busted it. Everybody's going to be excited. I'm getting text messages now to when is it posting? When is it posting? So we'll see what happens. I'm at 99 viewers. I need 100 viewers to 100th viewer gets a free t-shirt. Big and loud, no BS. Thank you so much, Gina.
I love it. Big and loud, no BS.
Love you.
Love you too.